live in a suburban area. So what he does for the adults and the other people, the non-performers on the trip, the hotel is actually would be somewhere in downtown Sydney. It would be in an area where there's the sort of the inner, it's sort of like if you're in downtown New York and you've got all of the tourist things to do there. And so the adult hotel is down there, and the students go to the host families. The adults go back to Central City, they call it, basically downtown. There's all kinds of entertainment and other things to do there, versus if the adult hotel is in the suburbs somewhere, then there's going to be a mall and whatever the Australian version of Outback is. Right, so I guess it'd be like America. But, so in order to give the adults on the trip a wider range of opportunities for entertainment stuff that doesn't involve sitting around in a suburban mall, that hotel is downtown. Now by bus, that could be somewhere like 45 minutes away. And so here's what he mandates this. This is not an option for us when we go. There is, the bulk of the other travelers are in the hotel downtown in Central Sydney, except he requires, and this is a mandate, this is not an option, that there's a male and a female chaperone. He books rooms for them in a hotel that's in the area where the kids are. And so each night, there's got to be a male and a female chaperone there. And there is, so basically you've got an adult from our party within about 10 minutes of any student. Should anything go wrong, a student gets sick, something like that, then somebody that's traveling with us is within about 10 minutes of those folks. So that they can, and I said, well, that's a great idea. And he said, it's a great idea. And honestly, he said, in 22 years, there's been like 3 times we've had to utilize that. And it was a child that got sick. It wasn't, a major emergency, but you've got to get sick. So each night, somebody is within 10 minutes of where our students are to take care of any kind of emergency that might arise. The rest of the adults and the other travelers are in the hotel downtown. So the cost there, $26.95 for the students, $32.20 for the other travelers. Now the payment schedule, and again, we'll talk about fundraising opportunities in a second. November 1st, first deposit is $150 per person, period. It doesn't matter which price range you fall into, performer or non-performer. The first 2 deposits, November 1st, $150 per person, December 15th, $250 per person. And again, those two, that first $400, doesn't matter which price range you fall into. Now, after that, basically every 2 months, you make a payment. If you're in the homestay side of things, then it's $275. If you're in the hotel stay, it's $340. And so essentially every 2 months, I will point out that on March 15th, 13th, there's a $95 payment kind of snuck in there just to make the math work. And then on April 15th, the non-performer one is $345. It's additional $5. And all travelers have to be paid in full 60 days in advance. April 15th gives us really about 5 weeks. No, I'm sorry. It's 9 weeks. So we're a little bit in advance of the 60 days paid in full, but not much. And so that's essentially the payment schedule. Now, without getting into the fundraising opportunities that we'll talk about in a second, I understand, look, December 15th is a bad time to be getting a deposit. I get it. And look, I know, because I intend for my family to be on this trip too, and I got just 3 of them. But we'll talk about the opportunities for that in a second. So, maybe not money related yet, but in terms of the trip, the homestay program, anything that you've got a specific question about, I'll be glad to answer it now as well as I can. Yes, ma'am. Okay, good point. So we'll cover that. There's 2 different things. And she said if you didn't hear her, what happens if we're way into this process, we've made all these payments and something comes up and we're not able to go. Now, if something comes up like death in the family, sudden serious illness, something like that, then it's recommended, and it's something that we'll talk about as we get into the process, that you as the individual can get travel insurance. So that if something happens, you get way into the process and you can't go, then you've got that insurance. Now, some folks, and this is always a bit of an issue here because really for 8th graders, we've got students coming from 2 middle schools, and particularly Loftus folks aren't all zoned for here. And so, we've dealt with this before with major trips in the past. Well, what if, I'm not in the Soddy Daisy zone, but I think my child is going to be there, and, we think we can get on the hardship application in that process, but we're not sure yet. If you're in the instance where that at the end of 8th grade and coming into 9th grade, and you're planning to be here, and you're looking for the hardship process and you don't get into school here, or something else happens and you wind up in school somewhere else or something like that, then until September, for those folks, until September of 12, we could refund your deposit and what you've paid in full. So if a situation arises where you're along the way and, we've gone ahead, we put down the deposits, we made those first couple of payments, and then all of a sudden, I'm not going to be in school here. Or somebody asked me, this is a great question, somebody asked me at the initial meeting about it, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be here then, but there's a, 30% chance my job's going to transfer me out. Then depending on where we are in that case, there is a refund policy. If it's before September of 12, it's in full. If it's after that, then it's kind of incremental. But there again, if you're concerned about maybe a job transfer situation after September, or if you're concerned that there might be some kind of catastrophic situation and you can't go, then I would recommend that you look into the travel insurance, and we can talk about the specifics of that later, just because I don't have them right now. But that's an option, and that's a good point. Other questions?
If one person can't go, can you put somebody else in the family?
Yeah, and so if one person can't go, and there's a paragraph, and I've got a much bigger booklet than you, and I'll tell you what it says. Somewhere, because that comes up. Well, to answer your question, I don't see it offhand, but yes, but there's a fee. And basically that's going to be an airline. Oh, here it is. No, it's not. But basically the airline charges a name change fee. And so if you paid up, and we had this situation, we flew up to California a few years ago, and we got right up to it, and Dad couldn't go and Mom was going to go. So yes, you don't lose it, but there's a fee to change the name on the trip, essentially. Other questions? Yes, sir.
In counterpoint to what you were just saying about September 12th being the cutoff point, if by chance February of 2013 you got a windfall of money and you weren't expecting to be able to go, but now you got the money, can the kids still go?
Unexpected windfalls after you give me my cut.
Hey, kid, you can go. Let's try to get
I'm sure if you pay me enough of that windfall, I can get your job. Now, to answer that question, I'm going to answer it kind of carefully. Yes, to a point. And basically, we have flexibility until the point where we purchase the airline tickets. And once we purchase the airline tickets, it sort of is what it is. But here's what I've got to say to you is that basically we've got to have enough student travelers on the trip to make it work. So if everybody sits back and goes, well, I can't go right now, but I think I've, income tax or whatever, I'm going to sell this truck or whatever down the road, I think I'll be able to add on. If everybody is counting on adding on, then on the front end the trip's not going to make. Okay, so go ahead but to answer your question, yeah, if like my child's going and all of a sudden I get this great income tax return, can I add in? Probably, but it depends on where we are in the process. And again, once we book airline tickets, it's kind of a done deal at that point, minus name changes for a fee. But I got to stress that don't sit back and go, well, I'm going to get in on the adding group, because if we don't have enough on the front end, then we won't be able to put it together to begin with. Yes?
When do you expect to purchase the airline tickets?
The airline tickets, basically, here's the way that'll work. The airline tickets, in 22 years of experience, our tour company is going to know when is the right time to book. And airline tickets go up and down. And I'll tell you that I looked a few months ago, and airline tickets from Atlanta to Australia, this is my price. He's not going to book it at my price. But on lowestfare.com, a few months ago, you could fly from Atlanta to Sydney round trip for about $1,200 bucks. Now today, it's about $2,100 bucks. So that fluctuates a lot. In his experience, he knows when the time is to purchase those tickets. And you can only do it, you can't do it more than 331 days in advance. And so we're a long way down the road from him actually purchasing the tickets, but that is another reason why it's important that we maintain our payment schedule, so that once we get within that 331-day window, and he's watching the tickets fluctuate, and he understands the market and the airlines and how this works much better than I do, when